Hello, hello, everyone, and hello to the one, the only, Aaron Draplin. What's up, Aaron? How you doing?
Hello, everybody. I'm good. I'm in Vermont.
Vermont. What's your favorite things happened in Vermont so far?
Well, we just walked around. We're getting our steps in. Party's over, Hawk Rattle. How do I rattle?
It's
Hawk
Hawk
Rattle?
Rattle. You got it. You got it.
Listen, Hawk Rattle, the party's over. Okay. And I have averaged about 5 miles a day on the road. And I've been in Massachusetts and yesterday I went for the world's best pizza in New Haven, Connecticut,
Ooh,
Pepe's. And then I went to the ocean and just kind of went, and then drove back up north all the way to Burlington, Vermont. But we just walked around the grounds of this Shelburne um, nature preserve and stuff, and then we went around this little museum thing, and it was absolutely beautiful. And they have all these kind of settler homes and cabins and things from 1850s that they disassembled somewhere
oh
and
yeah.
brought onto these grounds. And then in each one of them, there might be vintage toys, glassware, carved eagles, all this kind of American Gothic 1860 kind of stuff. So my buddy
Yes.
and I just walked around that and got our steps in. And then here we are to come and talk with you.
That's it. So hopefully that was good and inspirational. We have gotten a lot of questions from the chat. And hello, if you're just joining us for the first time, I'm Andrew Hockrattle. Nice to see you. If you're watching this over on Behance, hopefully you came in from our new career center. We just launched a new career center at behance.net/resources. It's all about helping you start and level up your creative careers. And today we're going to be talking a lot of your questions, but also just some career journey from Draplin. And you have endless stories that I've heard that will kind of pick and choose here as we go through. But chat, if you have questions, I need you to drop your questions for our friend Aaron in the chat. I am reading them live, and so I will relay them. And let's hop in with just a question right off the bat. Um, Someone is saying, what advice do you have for someone that is interested in design but not making it like their major, like going to school for it? Someone that's just like, this could be a fun hobby to explore.
I think you got the word nailed, hobby. Why can't it be a hobby? People are into scrapbooking. People are into making I don't know, building a model or playing with Legos or making ceramics. Why couldn't design be the same kind of thing? Well, for some of us, that's all we had before school and things and stuff. And I love to make things, and I love to blur the line between something that's real and legitimate, and then just for the hell of it, for fun. Because what I could do is I could make something crusty for my friend and suddenly level the playing field with their band and their poster, and it was just from a place of fun. So that is the power of graphic design, and it was a certain elixir to it. I saw how our small amount of moves could elevate something crusty to go and battle the things that were big and bragged about their budgets and things. So that's fun to me. That was fun to me. And also, somewhere there, I knew that on some level it was also pragmatic, because if I did learn this stuff, I could go make a living with it. So I would just say, you know, software is fun, you know, find something, and I've got this at Brimfield, find something and go just rebuild it. Rebuild the type, rebuild the horse, rebuild the little horseshoe, and get all the little weird, make the little weird holes in there and stuff. And the idea is you're just learning how to use the tools simply for fun, right?
Yeah,
Um,
100%.
how I started. That's how I started. So, you know, don't be afraid of this stuff. Degrees and accreditations. There's a place for all that. What about when it's just fun to learn how to make something for just yourself?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think that those things that you make for yourself almost always end up being something that you make for someone else. You make it for you and they notice it and then they come back and, are ending up hiring you, turning it into an actual project for something that's a personal project. It's the best way to exist as a creative, I think.
I don't think this is susceptible. What I'm about to say is this, exactly what you just said. Um, it's not susceptible to time and space and trend. That if you make things and you show things purely from a place of joy, and your friends pick up on that, they'll hire you for it. They'll want to use some of that stuff. And see, when a young person or someone who's just starting out comes to me and says, "Listen, it's a catch-22. I can't get a job because I don't have any work to show. I don't have, I don't have a job, so I don't have any work, I'm not making any work to show and get the job and so on." Just go do it. Just play with it. And you can build an arsenal of things just through your own friend network and then show it on your Instagram. And if it comes from a place of like you're just playing and having fun and you're enjoying that work and you're doing it, it'll just show a really cool side of you. That's a sneak attack. And there's no requirements for that. There's no, you don't have to get a grade through your school or have a big expensive set of credit hours. You can just build it, make it, and then share it.
Yep,
That's how
100%.
people
And
that's how people get to know what you do,
A
you
hundred
know?
percent. And on that, I'm going to do shameless plug here. There's a new course coming to the Career Center on Monday, 3 days from now. It's a new course taught by me, and it's all about how to make your personal projects into your dream projects. It's called Stories I Made Up. It's free. It's going to be available on Behance on Monday, talking all about how you work for yourself, but let your client see it, and then eventually become your dream client. So if you want more on personal projects, come back Monday. Come hang out with me.
There's so many resources out there, and I want to go do that. I mean, that's the interesting part about this. There's this sharing and there's all these things. It gets a little overwhelming, but I didn't have those things at a fingertip. We didn't have that stuff. You had to kind of go out and meet people or trade notes or something. But, to sit at home and learn these things, there's kind of no excuse for expanding the palette.
Yep.
You know, it's
Yep.
it's made comfortable, it's made safe and constructive and cool, and you can just turn it off if you don't like it.
Yep.
Anyway, go do that.
Going back to what you just said, right? Of like coming up, we didn't have these resources, we didn't have these things. I want to travel back into a younger Draplin. We're getting shorter, our knees are hurting less, and we're here back as a younger Draplin. Um, do you have something that you were looking forward to starting out as a creative that you've now accomplished, that you looked up and you're like, man, I hope to do this one day. I hope that this happens. I want to work toward this. And then looking back, you're like, oh, I did the thing. I made it happen.
Well, there's so many little, plumes to that. It's like if you go all the way into the center of that kind of thing, where it like, you think of a flower and it's frilly on the outstuff and it's kind of flowy and there's, pollen and things. You get down into the middle where it's like tightly packed inside that rose or something. The scary stuff would be, I want to make a living. I'm going to have to pay off school loans. At some point, I have to take care of my mom and dad. I'm going to have to work a job, and I hope I like my job. Like that is the fear kind of stuff. Will I ever have savings? Am I even going to like this? Okay, but that's the tightly compacted, pressurized stuff. And as you work your way out, it just felt more and more, you know, indulgent to have these questions of like, am I going to be creative for a living? And am I going to like my job? Kind of, am I going to be able to do cool projects? And everything I've listed, I'm very thankful to say that I pulled off. Now, some of that stuff took a weird kind of grit and tenacity, to first, you come back into the center. What really, really matters. Can I pay my bills with graphic design? Now, I know that sounds very rudimentary, but I remember what it's like to be broke and be going back up to Alaska for the summer to go wash dishes and have $100 in the bank. So all of these things, these summers up in Alaska, going back to college, there was risks in each one of them. Am I spending too much time up in Alaska? All this money I'm investing in myself at college, will I need it? And the answer is it all was towards this goal of like, at some point, which was 2004, I'll go on my own and I will have a skill set that will be able to sort of engage this part of me where I can take every job. Because I know what it's like to work some crappy jobs. I know what it's like to go without. That's a big part of it. I know what it's like to have to compromise. Oh, they don't want to do the job for this price. I'll do it, and get it done quick. And they won't even know that. And that came from having some rougher jobs. So, I mean, to look back at this career that I am starting to actively slow down, I am very, very thankful because I would have been okay with, when I was coming out of school, it was like it wasn't enough for some of my more highfalutin teachers and instructors, professors at MCAD, where I went to art school, to say to them, I just want to go make a living. I have to pay my bills. No, they wanted to hear that you're going to go change the world. And that just wasn't going to happen. I still would never say it. Whoever says that, be careful with that. No, I want to be a worker. I want to be a good service person. I want to be a good, I have to pay my bills, be a good citizen. So the answer is my baseline was enough. And when things went stratospheric for me and got crazy, and the first time you get bumped up to a first class seat with a face like this, and Steve's sitting next to you going, "Can I see your ticket?" He's vetting you because maybe I'm supposed to be in 23D or something, but no, I'm in 3D. Like that was a moment where it was like, I will never buy a first class ticket. And I'm up here in the big seats with Steve, who's crunching numbers. And I get to say to Steve, well, Steve, I'm in graphic design. That's what I do. And he's
Yep.
on some pizza box Dell roll bar and all these plastic and shit.
Oh yeah,
So
letting Steve know what's up. I think Amy and Jen Hood, some good friends of ours and of the design industry in general, said at one point I went to a talk and they talked about this idea of putting yourself in rooms that you don't belong in. And I think that is so interesting of hearing that you're like, I'm up here in first class, like I made it, that I've just willed myself here, that it is that like push that you have these ideas. And yes, it's hard. And I love that you talked about the hard parts and you talked about the struggles, but sometimes it is just existing in a space where you're like, I don't know if this is going to work. And then it does.
well, the first time that you are charmed in the backstage by a bunch of people that, I kind of know what it's like to be the person unloading the stuff at the event. I kind of know what that's like versus only showing up and being the person that gets to be the keynote or something. Now, these are just speaking events. That will always tickle me because, um, you'll get the people who read me and say, oh, no, 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 sir. The crowd is that way. Like they're making a call, and that's when I kind of have to fish, somewhere out of the folds and flaps, pull out the big hologram thing, and go, "I'm the keynote in 17 minutes.
Uh-huh.
I need to
Sorry, let me
have a
adjust my microphone.
I need to go have a good hard cry before." That's one of my, just so you guys understand, when I cry on stage, which is about an 87% ratio, of crying to lying, merch sales go up 17%. Anyway, out in the hall,
There we go.
but it'll just never be lost on me. Those hoods, those ladies, they do it all. There's some lessons there. They're cool, they're nice, they're lethal, they're amicable. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And they bitch and work. You know what I mean? Like that is a cool little amalgam. You know, when I got to meet them years ago and to see, I go check every 6 months and just see what the latest stuff is. Good for those two.
Yep.
Anyway, okay. What
Yeah,
else?
and,
What else?
and I think that like it says something, and this is my next question from the community on social. It says something for them that there are so many creatives that you talk to that it goes back to the hoods, right? That there's like, oh, they gave me a shot here and they hired me to help out with this and I took their course and I got whatever. What is your take on what's next for design and how we maybe as more established creatives can help the next generation, and maybe like what you see the next generation needing as you're kind of experiencing the industry?
Yeah, I mean, I think I just have to be really careful with certitude because I see a lot of answers and a lot of courses and a lot of podcasts and a lot of things you have to pay money for where it's pretty bulletproof, their answers. And the answer I would give is there's a lot of ways to make a living in this stuff, but there are some just basic tenets, some principles that you're going to have to exhibit, which is just being a good citizen. That's never going to go out of style. Um, Sharing, and when someone writes you with a fun comment or maybe a nasty comment, engaging in a way that's constructive, because we're all on social media and stuff. But I think, there's just a sense of humility that you have to have because some jobs are going to be tough and some jobs are going to be good. And we're not all, I didn't start out in a cool job. I started out in a rough job and it was 750 an hour a long time ago. But I remember that being enough for me just to get access to computers. so I could make my own stuff. I didn't have a computer yet in 1995. Um, moving forward, those are all pretty old-fashioned things. Those aren't going to go out of style. But I think like anything, you have to have an understanding for the software, how to be versatile, how to work, and how to ask for help. I don't know how to build a website. So I recently redid draplin.com and that's it. I'll never do that again. We really thought it through like this is the next 40 years of my life if I even make it through the night. But I had to ask for help. And there is an art form in how to capitulate and say, there's no way at 51 years old I can go learn all this tech. I'm going to pay this money. I'm going to invest in this person. It's no different on the job. We draw these lines between things. And if I'm good at some little part of this, or I feel like I can be successful, then I will promote that. But if I don't know, I'll let them know, before I get in trouble, or get myself in a little bit of hot water. So I don't know if I'm going in circles here or whatever, but where it's all going, I don't know the next app. And I don't have the most articulated thoughts on AI, but I will say to clip a little zim zam out of something. Like I'm looking behind me, my buddy's got a poster on the wall here. If I just clipped and feathered around this side of my, what is that, this side of my head and did that little generative fill to get this thing quickly back with a little gradient behind me, that shaved time off of my life. It's not a dirty word, this AI stuff. Now, listen, if you're using it just to, I want clowns bleeding on antlers on a mountainside with flames, yeah, it'll do all that stuff for you. But I'm really excited to see where this stuff goes, and trying to be open and present as this stuff changes to just help me shave time off my day. I mean, anything for that matter, how to pay your bills, how to, oh my God, count calories. The party is over. The party is over. And, there's nothing to drink in this apartment my buddy has here, but I did find some a little bit of his son's orange juice. So I'm having a little bit of that. Oh, blood sugar Bill over here.
That's it.
Is,
We're getting our steps in.
imbibing.
We're counting
Well,
our
oh
calories.
my God, it's just disgusting what I've been doing. But I had to ask for help there too. What you should see me with that trainer. It is just a lot of wicking, a lot of very forgiving shorts and things on me rolling around on these floors. I hope they sanitize it after I'm in there wriggling around. Anyway, I'll leave you guys with that. But just like where's it all going? It's going to go fast. Be open, be nimble, be a nice person. If it's not your jam, understand why it's someone else's. You know. So like, listen, when these kids come to me and they say, hey, Draplin, why aren't you on, what is it called? Canva. Like, I don't even know what it is. But if that's what got them access to being creative, I'm all for it. You can just do it on a piece of paper too. Hey, Draplin, have you seen what this like new social media side of this thing does? Nope. Show me. How
Yes.
could I do that for me?
Yep. Yep.
Okay, that gets me a little bit quicker. Like, by the way, everything you see on my Instagram, I build it in Photoshop on my laptop or on my main machine, but that's changing. You can do it on your
Yep.
phone.
There's
These
so much
bratwurst fingers.
stuff.
Look at these things. You could put those on a grill and feed a whole family.
The new
And
design tools. These are the new
stuff.
mice.
Well, you can. I know they showed that to me last year at Adobe. It's a couple years old, but I'll take the course, I'll learn it, and then I will tweak it where I need to tweak it, and then just get it into the fray so I can go faster.
Yep.
That's all good stuff. Even as I get in my advanced sort of things, because it's a very fashionable thing just to say, I'm out, I'm done. Until you miss just sharing on, I don't need to go promote all the merch I make anymore. I've done a lot of that. It's more like I just want to show the dumb drawings I've been doing,
Yeah, share your passion. There's a
fun to do it.
That's the fun part. That's the fun part that you talked about earlier is like you need to remember that this is fun.
That's the F word, and it's like there's what is so amazing about graphic design to me is there are days I really enjoy it. Some days are tough, clients are tough, but there are some days with graphic design where I'm having a good time making a living. And we should really be thankful for that because that's a rare bit of error. That's a rare bit of occurrence and maybe kind of circumstance we've got ourselves into. Um, I ask my insurance person all the time, you make good money, right? Yeah. Do you like it? I hate this stuff. 501 can't come quick enough. the software, the cool desks we sit at, maybe a nice chair, fonts, typography, colors, interactions, successes, hardships, how to overcome things. It's a really cool, the community. I had a good run in this stuff and I enjoyed it. And I'm just thankful that, I did it and I actually liked it along the way. So,
Yep. I loved the kind of landing of like landing the career and like I did it in a like sort of in my brain, the Draplin like season finale montage is happening. The music starts to fade in. It's all the best times at Max, all the hugs. Love that for you.
well, I mean, I've been slowing it all down, which is it's a little bit terrifying, but because you build an improbable machine with lots of moving parts. And I liken it to like the hands, the fingers on your hand, like client work, going on the road and talking about myself, field notes, skill shares and little things and outreaches and doing these things and stuff, and then selling a bunch of merch. And slowly, those have been getting worked down into little nubs or going away or whatever you want to call it. And I just have to be okay with that. It's harder and harder to kind of keep all the balls in the air. I did it for a lot of years. Hopefully, I was a good little citizen in each one of those aspects of this stuff. But like why couldn't I grow another little weird finger off the side of this thing where I just simply donate my time to help people? I've done a lot of that. There's no paycheck, but there's some interesting, you know, it fills you up in a cool way where it's like it makes you sleep a little better,
Yep. Yeah. Somehow
That's
it's
moving forward. I'll displace the sweaty client stuff with just maybe being open to just help people. By the way, nonprofits and things would be just as stressful as the other stuff. But maybe there's some way to like put a little flap on my Instagram that's like, or excuse me, my website that says, "Hey, need help with something? Hit me up." We're doing, we did, years ago, I was doing this thing called Free Fridays in essence, because over the course of the week, I would help people on things. And maybe there's something to that because, you know, the amount of time that we were throwing away in a week with clients hemming and hawing and starting me and stopping me, I just kind of stepped back and said, okay, I'm going to make this more efficient so we're not wasting any time. And the time I get back, I'll use it to help some kid who's trying to get over the fence on his poster or something. There's no accolades for that, and there's no paycheck, and there's no likes or clicks or licks, but there's something in the heart that warms the heart. I'm using my skill set to help somebody. You never even hear about it. It's just I get a lot of people writing me and asking for that stuff. And I have nice ways to say I can't do it right now.
mhm.
And other times I say, buckle up.
Let's
You're
go.
let's just see what happens, that kind of stuff.
That's right. So going back to you're talking about like having fun, design still being like something that brings joy. This question is from Roman Might Design over on Instagram. What brings you the most joy when you design for someone? Is there a certain kind of project? Is there a certain medium that just brings you joy when you're working for a client or for a friend?
Well, I like big paychecks.
that's
I like the
that's it. That's
big
the
ones.
answer.
You got to study all the zeros. I like the big ones. Well, I'll tell you a funny story. Not that funny. Um, I'm growing a little appendage on my side, and it's a pus-filled packet. That's another story. No, last night I was coming off a Highway 91 or 93 here into Burlington. It was past midnight to my buddy Evan's house. He lives on this road here called Shelburne Road, and somehow in my meanderings, I took the wrong little right or left or something, and I went past a kind of a supermarket that competes with like Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, the awesome family market called Healthy Living. Now, if you guys can go, Google this thing up, Google up Healthy Living Burlington. There's a couple of different ones around New England, but you'll see a logo that I did for these guys. Now, it was late at night, and here I am. I did this 7 or 8 years ago, and I am driving, and all of a sudden I get to see the signs lit up, and there's my little icon of this kind of heart apple fruity kind of thing, leafy looking little thing, but it's a heart. And there it was lit up, and it looked as just as professional as Price Chopper down the way or Trader Joe's close by or we call it Whole Paycheck where live in Portland, Whole Foods. And there it was. And it really, um, was a real jolt to the colt, if you will, because I didn't know what part of town I was in. Here was this logo. So here's the thing. For me to outfit a family, this really eccentric family here, this, our buddy, he grew up in this stuff with his mom and sister, and to have that pitch to me, and then I did this logo, my concern was for the family, but my concern was also for the potato salad. That thing has to work this big. And then last night I got to see it in all its glory lit up in this dark parking lot. And I got a little weepish, because it just really like punched me in the face. I got to make a graphic that supports a family and then a community because there's beautiful people from Burlington going in there for their potato salad and all the deli stuff and coffee and all the beautiful produce and stuff. And I kind of forgot about it. I haven't been to Burlington in about 5 or 6 years, 4 or 5 years. So it's those little things, the sneak attack like that.
Yep.
I'll see DDC Hardware, my typeface. I'll see that um, on a billboard, and that will freak me out because it's usually somewhere in Nebraska. And the fact that my little moves are making their way into Stranger Things on props, I didn't even know it was going to go in there. And by the way, if anyone's listening, there's probably some sort of a infringement sitch there. But anyway, someone sent me the thing, and my nephew loved it. He's 15 now. He loved the show. I guess that's the answer.
That's right.
Seeing stuff populate and work and do the job. And somewhere along the way, I got to pay all my bills and things and stuff along the way, working for cool people.
Yep. I've heard it related to that instead of designing the coats, we're making the coat hooks. That we're not making like the experience that people have. We're giving them something to like have their own memories. That it's like, cool, I made this logo and put it out there. And now you think of potato salad. You think of the dinner that you have with your family once a week. And I never thought about that. But the logo just becomes a coat hook. And I get to experience all these great stories for this thing that I made.
Now, let me get spicy for a second. Because, okay, everybody, hold on to your asses because here comes some liberal points of view. Last night, my mom and look at me puffing up here. Last night, my mom and little sister, they went to see Pete Buttigieg and Chasten Buttigieg, who live in my hometown of Traverse City, Michigan. And outside on the street, there were one of these anti-LGBT, one of these guys preaching against it. And all these beautiful people went out there with the Up North Pride sign and they held it in front of this guy and drowned him out with love and my graphic on the Up North Pride sign. And my sister sent me the photo and I said, cool sister, cool sign, sucky bigot. Anyway, that happened last night in my hometown of Traverse City, Michigan. Mom went and saw, the Buttigiegs, who might be the next president and next first husband. Think about that, America. They live in my hometown. And there they were using, you ever see like Rome where they put the shields up?
Yep.
It was like that.
Yep. And it's cool because you get in that situation, you're like, man, I wish that, I was saying something, I could do something. And you look and you're like, I am saying something. Like it's.
I'm driving like a bat out of HE double hockey stick up, Highway 93 in a 2025 Nissan Mistake. Barely fits me.
That's what's
no
up.
No coverage. And I'm looking at this swerving all over the place. And my mom, they're out in line. Mom and Sarah are going to see this. My sister saw Chasten Buttigieg shoplifting around our hometown. And they don't go up to him. He's got his children and stuff. Because my question was like, don't they have Secret Service with them? But that would have been last administration.
Yep.
The new administration, aren't they a lot of fun? Anyway, let's keep moving.
Okay, so this is a great question from Stephen Overturf over on Instagram. And the question is, what is a style that you enjoy or is inspiring that you don't get to work in a lot?
Oh man, there's just there's just so many. I textile stuff. We just went to this beautiful farm here where they had all these old 1850s quilts and stuff. Now I've seen the contemporary version of that stuff, and I don't know how to sew, but to see someone take a graphic, how about this? Um, you got to go do a little search for it. There's people that are taking really simple flat vector graphics and turning them into rugs, and it might just be the coolest thing I've ever seen. And then what they do is when all the stuff is the pile and all that stuff is all following the vector, at the very last step, they go in with kind of shears and they kind of give it a little bit of a relief and along where that other color meets the color. So here's the thing. It's making things that people can really use. A lot of the stuff I make, it kind of just shows up on a phone or an Instagram sometimes, but I love when I make a poster because it's something people put on a wall. Now, a rug, you come and wipe your feet off with it or something, right? It's like there's a tactile use. But as far as like styles, who was the gal at she was just a beautiful person. What was her name? Maggie. I want to say her name was Maggie. At Crop last year, and she does these beautiful floral patterns,
Oh,
and it
yes.
it takes a lot of work. So I guess the idea of tenacity is really interesting to me because she's biting off a lot there when she does that. And it requires a lot of filigree and petal, a lot of flower talk on this thing. It's nice flowers, pistils and stamens and
Yes.
pollen and things.
Botany
Oh,
with Draplin.
getting so excited. But I just stood there and marveled at the entire package of this person. She's nice, she's pleasant, she has beautiful work, she was funny. I've never met the person, and I just have a lot of respect for the time it takes to make that craft. It's no different with what's her name, Gemma O'Brien. You can get lost in all the riff and the raff. It takes time to put all those swooshes and zips and zaps and get up on a goddamn mural. So, um, I just did 2 posters for Jason Isbell. You'll see them coming this next week, and it's all flower stuff. And if you guys remember, just come back to my Instagram in a couple days because that was some foreign territory for me. And I think the part that's tough is I'm looking at that. Her name is Maggie. I'm looking at her work. I'm going back and looking at Dana Tamagotchi. I'm looking at the beautiful stuff that you know, um, Gemma does, but I'm also trying to find an angle so I'm not stepping on their toes. Yes, all that stuff is inspiring, powerful. The filigree is hard to do, but I had to find my own little path because I could have went and aped them, and you can't do that, right? It's not ethical. It's not cool. I see it too much. So I make a new style for myself? No, I'm just grazing, but I take my own techniques and by the way, I did the entire thing with that new smooth tool. The smooth tool.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Well, go and just bing, bong, bong, bum, 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 make your vector. And then I set up in my key commands, dingleberry shift divided by the angle of the dangle, something, S or something for smooth. And it opens a little dialogue, and I just go 12% each time. Chef's kiss, just takes everything, the edge off it all. And it had this beautiful, because here's the thing. I work for this Jason Isbell guy. He's kind of a countrified guy. He's got great politics. I love to work for him. He sticks his neck out against all these dipshits over on the what, the comb over side. But he fights them, which I appreciate. And I wanted to make something where you could not tell that it was Aaron Draplin dipping in, because there's been other ones I've done. Oh, you could tell. Do the thick lines, do the something. I don't know if people are even going to know. Like, is there a way I could share my screen and show you guys this?
Yes, we can make that
Or is that going to
happen.
get you in trouble?
No, it's not going to get me in trouble. We are going to have to, we can figure it out.
Yeah.
No, we can figure it out.
Wait. I got a better way to do it.
Yeah.
Watch. Say something nice for a second.
Oh, yeah, I'll say something nice. While you look. Hi, everybody. If you're just joining us, we're hanging out here with Aaron Draplin. We'll do this podcast style. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the stream. We're here with Aaron Draplin, and we are on the Career Resource Center, behance.net/resources. Go ahead and call in tonight, and we're going to be answering your questions live.
Okay.
All right.
Now,
We got it.
ready? Now, if you can see this, you can see the little flower filigree. So I built those by drawing all those leaves and stuff on my, you can, I built them on my iPad by drawing the flowers. And then I took them in and took that vector shape, smoothed them all out. And then that is the one for Portland. Everyone keep this under wraps, only 800,000 people. And then there's the Oregon grape flower. And I did those little guys. So that's all I'm going to show. But those are coming for Jason Isbell. But see, the thing is, when I am blown away by something that's already out in the world, you have to kind of cordon that off so you don't go step on their toes. You don't just go do what they do. You learn from it, and then you try to make it your version of it, and then, here's the thing. I learned some new techniques making that poster, and that's the best buzz there is. So, as far as styles go, I know I'm known for a bunch of goofy stuff, but I don't know if you'd be able to pick it through seeing that poster and go, oh, that's a Draplin. And that's really interesting to me.
Yep, I was looking at it and I was like, it's like Draplish. Like there's the elements there, but like a new interesting kind of take on it. And for you, for someone that like has a style, that has your process, that must be so exciting and fulfilling, and like a new frontier to find a new tool or try a new thing. Be like, oh my gosh, what can I do with this now?
Well, there are tropes, even within Isbell, this rock and roller guy. It's a lot of machinery and a lot of cowboy references and a lot of Western, kind of country-ish references. And yet, when you go to the show, it's not a bunch of dudes. It's all kinds of people. And all kinds of just all kinds of people. It's not your kind of hard drinking, shit kicking, kind of good old boy or something, although he gets to some of those guys. No, it's actually pretty emotional stuff. So there's a lot of women in the crowd there just, that love him for what his vulnerability. And, how do we make things that talk to everybody in the room, not just some guy who wants to see an overgrown tractor in a field, which works for his stuff. So anyway, that was my job, and I think I did it. This afternoon in Portland, my brother-in-law picks up the stacks, and those will be hand delivered to the auditorium in Portland, and then the thing in Eugene on Monday and Tuesday.
That's so cool. Yeah. And I'm sure at some point you're going to be walking through some shop, and it's going to be up on the wall, and you're going to have a nice little memory coming back to this moment here. This is the moment. We'll remember that.
Yeah.
All right. I have a couple like lightning questions that you probably answer a million times that are coming in from chat. Favorite color?
Orange.
Easy. Favorite font?
Now we're getting into Criterion Collection.
Right. Yeah. Open up the case.
I love Futura Bold, all over our field notes. But I think it's going to have to be Helvetica. And the reason being, just for simple wayfinding. Really, where I use the most typography when I'm on the job, it's not in the project. That's a whole different level of pinpointed flowers in the icing. You know what I mean? Like cake decorating. It's the stuff that explains the rationale. That's really where the typography has to work, at least just within that presentation. So for me there, it's just always just a really simple 50% gray Helvetica on the white presentation, because it doesn't take too much away from it. It's legible from all sorts of distances, nice big page numbers. And I'm just talking simply for how to get around the presentation. So, I like typography that doesn't challenge too much. If you can see some of this wild chip behind me here, that's appropriate for this Marshall McLuhan, discourse about media and whatever, Marshall McLuhan stuff. But the medium is a message, but it's what's appropriate for that project. Well, that's going to be the icing on the cake. I like the stuff that really bakes the cake, so I'd go with Helvetica Bold. Yeah.
Great answer. This is going to kind of go along with that. We were talking about those posters behind you. Very obviously inspired by Dada movement, inspired by some of that stuff in the past. What is a movement of the past or a design style that excites you or that is like an inspiration for you?
Yeah. Oh man. It's pretty specific. Uh, I was at Brimfield the last couple days, and they have a lot of modern furniture, in this field. And then you get into the art, and the old crusty antiques. I love all the signs. I like all that kind of vernacular kind of, simple stuff. But I will say, mixed in with the modern stuff, you would see certain Peter Max things. Now, Peter Max hit it big. We all kind of know what that is. You know what it looks like. It's kind of dreamy and psychedelic, and there's a nice outline to it, and there's a lot of flowing forms and lots of color. And we all know what that stuff is: stars and moons and neat things. But maybe a little more specific past that would be the kind of pushpin era, which was a group in, I think, New York City, Seymour Schwast, Milton Glaser. And it's all the fruity, fun, bubbly, cartoony stuff. You'll see it, all over the place. I mean, one of the best examples of that would be the Bob Dylan poster, where you know exactly what it is, but it's just a certain kind of piece of pop art. Well, there was a whole world of that stuff that wasn't the Bob Dylan poster. It was just meant to be like a record of kids songs, of fun songs about stuff for kids. And that stuff just was really appropriate, a lot of color. So a couple of years ago, I got to do some stuff for Chris Stapleton, and it was kind of along those lines. And it was just really simple, things. That guy's done everything. He can do whatever he wants. I mean, he's pretty pliable, and that's really why I love what his whole thing is about. But when we did that kind of really simple shape graphic, it just really resonated with that crowd and took off. And that's a direct I couldn't be the goopy lines the way they do it, the kind of psychedelic stuff. It was just more like, how do I be restrained and illustrate him and not rely on a tracing or a photo, and just draw him and try to get his likeness, even if it's a little off. Because when you go look at the illustrative quality of that pushpin era, it was pretty weird. The Nixon faces they would make fun of, and these, like, sort of magazine illustrations, editorial illustrations. They'd make his nose really big and stuff. They were caricature artists in a lot of ways. So that's some new territory for me to like go and learn how to accentuate things and just get weird. If you go look at my Instagram right now, I did it with my everybody. I need you to keep my buddy Dale in your heart. He passed away about a month and a half ago now, and we are devastated is probably the best word for it. That was one of my close buddies in Portland. And for 5 days of missing Dale, I miss him, of course, right this second. But I illustrated him just to think about him. And he's, guy had a face like a catcher's mitt, like I like to say, heart of a lion, big heart. But that sadly, we lost him. But you can see on my Instagram where I was drawing those things of him on my iPad, fresco, and crying. And I take it into Illustrator and refine it into other things. So you can go see that. And that's just the way it was kind of my send off to my buddy. I mean, of course, we disassembled his apartment and, gave him back to the world, back to nature, and donated a bunch of stuff. But at night, missing him at the, thinking about what time and space and Dale means to me, I was drawing him. And it was just purely inspired by things I grew up seeing as a kid on cartoons, and yeah, stuff like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, there's a question that actually came in from Instagram user Doodle with Mari that asks, "How do you continue to draw after hardships? Get hit with an event and drawing back again is super hard. How do you push past that?"
Um, this morning, let me get here into my Field Notes brand memo books.
The
That would
full,
be
the full screen cut to just full Field Notes brands. It was perfect timing.
Field Notes brand. This is our Bon Iver limited edition. I think they're already sold out, but that new Bon Iver record's incredible. But you can see in here me sketching a guy having his sandwich last week. Guy eating at Fire on the Mountain, 5/1/25, a couple weeks ago. But here is me making fun of me. I go on my walks, the walking man. So just you can't look how giant those big comfy Asics are. Just weird. Um, the idea is this, to answer the question for that person. Um, I'm trying to do it from a place of play. I'm trying to do it from a place of imperfection. I'm trying to do it from a place where just I want to make a cool butterfly graphic and then practice my little thing because I was getting ready to go on. I had to scan something in for a damn PDF or a big paycheck. Anyway, I want to make a cool butterfly, and I want to make a butterfly that people come up to and go, "Ooh, Draplin's selling it here tonight. Okay, that's cool." Or they come up to it and go, "That's just a kick-ass butterfly I've never ever seen before." That's my job. So it starts here, and I sketch here and I make there, and it's simply from a place of play. So listen, when you're beat up and you're chewed up and you're down in the dumps, there's no rule that says you have to get back into art right away. How about take a walk? How about do some cleaning? How about play with some just play with something, play with no, I'm not gonna say yourself, but play with yourself, whatever that is, with a nice big pile of Legos. I don't know. Um, you know, um, take a break. Take a break. Because what I'll do is if things are rough, I do my best, my damnedest to get the job done and get it sent off. And then I got to come down from that. And sometimes there's something about watching a documentary and just sketching for fun on my iPad because it's just I can't do those same kind of lines and really thick lines and erase it really quick. What an incredible tool, but it still has a sketchiness to it. It still has this humanity to the lines inside that fresco on my iPad. So that is really relaxing to me. And
Yep.
I'm trying to parse why. And I think it's just because it's random and you are at the behest of accident, smudges. This my knuckle grazes the thing. You got a wrong line in there. It thinks it's the tip of the pen or something. And it's kind of like paper. There's something that is oddly unforgiving and really forgiving when you screw up because it could be something beautiful. You know, a lot of the work I've done over the years was fairly, once you got to that final vector, pretty technical.
Yep.
And the way you hand it off and get it, show up on a hat or embroidered or maybe in the corner of an app or something, that was all pretty technical stuff. But there's just still something about drawing that I will never relinquish. How about this to the person who asked the question? Remove it from all the other stressy stuff. So it's just something fun that you do while you're waiting for a meal, while you're watching a doc, while you're sitting on a train, or while you wake up in the morning and you're having your morning. Oh my God, you guys, you should see me make these smoothies with the protein powder and the handful of kale. And, what else we put in there? The sad yogurt. That's just
That's
make
it.
a just gag a maggot, and then you put a handful of berries. I'm not done yet, Andrew.
I no.
And
Oh,
then
full screen.
you
Back to
put the
you.
strawberries, you put a half a banana, only half a banana, and then a little bit of whole milk. Milk. Leigh makes fun of me because I say milk, M-E-L-K, milk. I want some more. Well, and I have this. That's what I have for lunch. It's about 250, 300 calories. I drink a big mountain of that stuff, and yeah. Anyway, party's over. Anyway, hope
Party
I answered.
party's over. That's
Sorry,
the takeaway from today's stream.
lightning round.
Party's over. Get your steps in. Have some smoothies. Count your calories,
Yeah,
and
you
stay
know what you
inspired.
guys don't know about Adobe Live right now, just so you guys understand. I am bottomless right now. You can't see it, but I'm that free here in my buddy's apartment while he's off fetching coffee and other expensive sandwiches and shit here in Burlington. Anyway, okay, let's keep
All
going.
right,
Sorry.
so let's keep going. We have a couple more questions. One that just came in, and the question was:
Yeah, how many people are even listening to this?
there are right now there's 100 people live. Hi, people, and then there will be more people watching the replays that can't. Hi, people. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
So, question coming in, and that is, um, do you have a process for like grieving good ideas that didn't happen? Those ideas that you're like, oh, I loved this design, I loved this idea, and it gets killed. How do you deal with that as a creative?
Oh, well, I mean, first of all, grieving, there's a little bit of that, but there's also try not to throw the baby out with the bathwater. If someone killed something along the way because of whatever goofball reason, so what? The idea still is there. So just, you know, gently, lick the finger and go on the little candle and put the candle off to the side. so you can get that blowtorch out later on and fire that fucker back up. And then, sorry about the language, and then get that idea going again, maybe just for yourself. Grieve, get it out of the way, and then go make something new with it.
Yep.
That's the magic of this stuff. And no one needs to know. By the way, say you're making, I don't know, and you had to throw one of the things away. You can't just go recycle that kind of, but you can get the idea from it. And you can learn from that heartbreak and learn from that shortcoming. And by the way, learn how to make peace with understanding clearly this is not for you. I'm talking the heartbreak part of this. If that client pushed you around and they wanted A and you wanted B, that's because you're designed for your ego, kind of, right? Now, it might have been a better solution. You might have had your heart set on it. Well, boo hoo. There's no crying when you're cashing the paychecks. You know what I mean? The faster you can get to where the client signs off, even you do your best, do your level best to make them be a responsible citizen and hand off good stuff. But if they pick a lemon, you got to be okay with it, because you know what? That still might have been 72.6% better than their last logo. And then that little thing that got snubbed along the way, go tweak it, make it yours, make it some fun thing, and then let it back out in the world. I think that is absolutely fair game. Don't take it too hard. I think a part of our job is to be gracious with ourselves, with our clients, with our time, with our output, with our ability to move quick. Be elegant. Be a gentle little lamb. Don't go shitting on people and getting mean on social media and disparaging things. There's a time and a place for that. You ought to hear Andrew and I off the side of this thing when it's not going live. It's real fun. That'd be a fun podcast.
Oh yeah.
Things Aaron Draplin says that would ruin a career. Well, you know, put it off to the side, use it later on. Yeah, there you go.
Yep. And I think I had a conversation with somebody the other day talking about how sometimes our best projects and our best work is like fueled by spite from another project. That like I had this great idea and I loved it so much and it died. And then you're like, I'm going to take that, I'm going to make it, and I'm going to like show them what they missed out on. And you make this amazing work because you're just like mad about it.
It's breakup songs.
It's
Some of the best music is when, and you should have, by the way, you guys, I don't know if you can really, if I can even fit in the camera, but I have a very challenging face. And my girlfriend, Leigh, she is so beautiful and elegant and smells so nice and so well read and so patient and so watches perfectly balanced television. I mean, she's an amazing human being. And anyway, I got a real bad case of the Leighs. Where was I going with this? I don't even know. I'll just say it's a plug for Leigh.
Shout out Leigh.
What were we saying? Something really professional. I got lost in her beauty. What was it?
Nope. We were talking about working out of spite, reclaiming projects, making them your own.
I like to call it PL, pre-Leigh. Some of the girls these ladies who just had a bad case of the Draplins and then just, put me out like a little butt of a cigarette. Just, hey man, that makes great art. It teaches you a lesson. It thickens your skin, and then the next time you're in the presence of a sweetheart like Leigh, you hopefully have you do a better job, or you are bracing for impact. And learn from the heartbreak and learn from the things that kind of suck. And if you have to become a better designer or a better person or something, it's just part of life. And make your notes and learn from these things. I think we can all, I don't think the growing ever stops, I mean, on any level, on any life level, I can always be a better human. I can always be a better partner. I can always be a better son to my mom, or, definitely be a better older brother to all my little sisters. I have two little sisters. There's three of us. And Dad used to say, Aaron, I'm Aaron. And then I have two little sisters, Sarah and Leah. And my dad would say, I have three children, one of each. Anyway. But I have my baby sisters, nothing is certain, and things ebb and flow and get weird, and you can always listen and become better. And that is a lesson that Leigh taught me, to make tiny little adjustments to try to be better at something next time. And she'll let me know where I screwed up. It's like a stock ticker all day long. You know those
Yep.
things in the movie.
Yep. It's just a list
Okay,
kind of going
asshole,
through
you
like,
didn't ask about my day here. You didn't ask about my walk. You're, where do I cash this check? Where do I go cash this check? I'm going back to bed. All that stupid stuff. Anyway, okay. Wait,
Cool.
lightning. Sorry.
Yes, so we are out of time, sadly. This was so fun. Thanks for hanging out. This was a great time. For those of you that are watching online, stay tuned. There's more live streaming coming up next. And if you're watching the replay, thanks for watching. Put your questions down below. And Aaron, you got 20 seconds. Do you have anything you want to plug that you want to talk about? I'm going to throw you full
I don't
screen.
know. Yeah, I mean, I've just been slowing down, and I will say we will ramp it back up for the fall. So if you guys are going to go to Adobe Max, go have fun, eat the food, drink like liquor pigs, accost all the designers and the illustrators and all those tech people running around, learn about the stuff. It is fun. It's fun. Go with your buddies to Los Angeles and get wild. It's a really good time. We're excited to go and be campers. We're excited to go and sell merch. I'll be telling my latest little story. So come see that. I know it's a pitch, but we have a good time.
It's a great time.
That shouldn't be a dirty word. And then, of course, go buy a bunch of field notes, draplin.com, a whole new brand new website, Skillshare videos. Be nice to my mom if you see her out when we're walking next week. And thank you for having me, Andrew. Thank you.
Nailed it. Thanks, everybody. Bye.